Hey everybody, just before we begin the show this week, I'll take a moment to tell everybody to check out our spring survey at update.rsbnb.com/survey. We do this survey about once a year. We use it to gauge a bit of a direction of where our community's at and where we should take the show in the next year or so. We'd greatly appreciate it if you'd fill it out. So just hit pause for a couple minutes, fill it out, and then come back to the show. Thanks. This week on RSBANDB Update, we run through the Gilded Extravaganza, PVM costs, and the CompCape rework is discussed yet again. We talk about the live stream, the new artwork, and comp from a PVM perspective, plus details on the new Xbox One S and more Facebook shenanigans. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 720, recorded Thursday, April 18th, 2019. Welcome to the third dimension. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for RSBANDB Update. This week we're back with the Easter event, the Gilded Extravaganza. Joining Tannis and myself to discuss that is David, our resident PVM expert. Welcome back.
Hey.
Everyone's probably wondering why you're on the show, and why is he on for a Easter event? Well, it has to do with something else called the CompCape rework, and we had a very good in-depth discussion last week on the mechanics of the CompCape rework. So I think what we want to do this time is have that same discussion, maybe a bit from the combat side, and we'll go over some of the stuff that was mentioned in the live stream. So that's why you're here. Hopefully you'll enjoy that with us and everyone else as well. Tannis, you ready for a fun show? Ready for us?
I'm ready, man. I'm pumped. This was it's been a fun week,
Yeah, it has. It has been a really fun week. Let's just start with the Easter event in this case. So it's called Gilded Extravaganza, and that's one of those puns that they put in there, and it's a fun little Easter quest. It's a very isolated Easter quest. It's going to be temporary. It takes place exclusively in the Lumbridge crater, and what you need to do in this quest is you need to create new creations for the various guilds of RuneScape, including the Chef's Guild, the Fishing Guild, and the Crafting Guild. The Chef's Guild wants a cake pie cooked, which is basically a pie in the form of a cake, but that proves to be a futile endeavor, so you end up just creating a lemon pie for them. And you also need to create the Sword Sharkuna. That's a very interesting name, which is a tuna inside a swordfish inside a shark, which is, they say, borderline inedible, and that is for the Fishing Guild. Then finally, the Crafting Guild wants help decorating an elaborate, ornate Easter egg. So that's the primary aspect of this event this week. What did you guys think of the mini-quest?
I loved that they got the guilds involved. I was like, this is really cool. I hadn't seen that in a while. So it was cute. It kind of reminded me of, it was the same vein as what they did with the Yeti and the Christmas event this year. Yeah, little one-off type of quest.
I thought it was a good reuse of resources. It was very bottle questy, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Yeti one was better. I thought that quest was super fun. I thought the jokes were a lot better and, I don't know, less childish or something. I don't know. I guess the Yeti one was pretty childish too, but I liked that one a little more. But this was good.
Yeah. One of my favorite aspects, I don't know if you guys had music on, but the music track for this was very spring-like. So I enjoyed that. I would highly recommend anybody doing this to turn music on because, you are missing out. Otherwise, you're just running around the Lumbridge crater doing things, and it is kind of boring if you don't have the music for it. So turn the music on, definitely.
I was definitely one of the people who got fooled by the look for this in the Cook's Guild to the northeast, because I just ran to the to the actual Cook's Guild and tried to find salt, and obviously there was a thing of salt.
It was right
a
there.
few squares away.
Right
Yeah. I apparently that happened to several people because I asked in my clan chat, and a bunch of people also made the same mistake.
Oops.
And some people even bought rock salt on the GE. Like, that's pretty hilarious.
You can buy rock salt on the GE?
You can.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's necessary for a Slayer task.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah. Clearly, I wasn't going to do that. But then when I realized that there was nothing in the Cook's Guild, I realized that what they meant was
because
the Cook's Guild camp.
There is a big purple banner with the cooking pot on it, as well as a bucket of vinegar and a pot of salt there. So, anyways, I mean, everything is all within the Lumbridge crater, so I don't think there's too much to talk about mechanic-wise. The Sword Sharkuna, that what do we got? What do we got to say about that one?
No thanks.
I hope it doesn't catch on.
Would not eat.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is tasty on its own, but I don't think I would want it together. I don't know.
Interesting.
And there was that part of the quest where the screen went black when you were creating the Sword Sharkuna, and there was I think there were some insinuations there that something was happening with your character that is not PG for RuneScape, and that's where I want to leave that. I think.
Sure.
So I don't know if anybody else caught that.
I wasn't really sure what was happening.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit weird, and I think when you look at this, all you need to do is you just need to say, hey, this is definitely one of those little holiday events that is absurd, and you repeal this order on creating abominations of the Sword Sharkuna, and then it says, let me just hang on, let me just read. I got the full transcript of the scroll order here. It says, I, King Rold, hereby repeal the ban on the construction and consumption of multi-stuffed meals for the duration of Easter. The law will be reinstated in full effect outside of this time period, and all guilty parties will once again be stuffed with the monstrosities they have created. And this is near the final end of the quest when I did it. So you need to help create the Sword Sharkuna, and then it says having audio on will greatly improve the experience of creating the Sword Sharkuna, and the screen goes dark. You hear a little bit higher. I don't think it'll go higher. Right there. Don't move. Here we go. Squelch. I don't think it was supposed to do that. Hey, I said don't move. Crunch. I think I'm going to be sick, your player says. The Fishing Guild apprentice says then, what are you doing? Or where are you going? We still haven't put in the swordfish. You feel as though there are no number of baths that will make you clean again. Sigh, I don't think I have the stomach for this. I'll get one of the other Fishing Guild members to help you out. So as you can tell, creating the Sword Sharkuna is definitely a gross thing that happens in this quest. So
yeah, it doesn't seem great.
No, and we didn't even get to see what the Sword Sharkuna looked like after it was completed. So
I was hoping it would be a weapon override.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Yeah,
like a two-handed melee weapon.
Yeah,
because we do have
with a Sword Sharkuna.
Yeah, and that might not have been hard to do because we have this swordfish sword.
Mm-hmm. We do have the sword. Yeah. That's why I thought that it would be a weapon override.
Yeah.
Now, when you do this, you also do get 600 of the crystallized chocolate fragments for completing this quest, and that does go towards completing the seasonal event aspect of this update. And I think that's a good thing that this is that this charity event is now being used as a seasonal feature rather than something we were getting every month a couple of years ago, and now it's actually being used for charity. So I'm very pleased with that, and I think at this point we can talk about what you actually get from moving into and doing this this charity event. So, your player did actually have a reaction for this here when it was talked about what happened during the quest. You talked to the Easter Bunny, and by the way, did you see the picture on the news post of the Easter Bunny with its big teeth?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was quite the Easter Bunny photo. Let me pull that up for those watching on video, and anybody who saw the Weekly Bite this week would have seen that, the bunny with the big teeth in the front. I made sure that greeted everyone who watched the Weekly
huge
Bite.
teeth.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this charity event here, because when I saw this coming forward, I thought, this is good that we're getting the chance to be able to have this in now in game, and you go through it. It's 15K crystallized chocolate fragments that you need, but what I think people aren't realizing is that anything that you spend RuneCoin related on this event, all the proceeds for that go directly to the two charities, the Princess Trust and CPSL Mind. So
very cool.
You can spend RuneCoins to do that, or you can purchase bonds and you can redeem the bonds to collect the fragments faster in the game, and any money spent from the bonds or the RuneCoins goes directly to the charity. And that's something we've always ducked around before on these events, is that there's a question of hey, is this a good thing to be spending RuneCoins on? Is this a good thing just to have money sinking into? But I think now we can definitively answer that and say yes, because this is a charity event. And if you complete this and you go the full 15K fragments, you get the Imperial Coronation cosmetic override set, which of course includes the hands, the boots, the legs, and the hat. You also get the Love Me Not rest animation at the halfway point. And then finally, do you guys remember the mining and smithing beta when that came out way back in the very early parts of 2018? You remember what everybody what everybody wanted there?
The chick axe.
The chick axe. They have found a way to add the chick axe as a cosmetic override at 15K here.
It's the perfect place for it too. Like this was just like I couldn't believe it. Like I literally rewatched the bite. I was like, did he say chick axe? Like he said chick axe. Oh hell! Like woo! I'm gonna get that. Yeah, and I mean, and ordinarily we could say that, hey, if you're not playing as much, you're probably going to want to spend some RuneCoins on it, and typically that would go just to Jagex. But here, 100% of these proceeds earned from this event go to charity. So I think if you want a chick axe, and I think anybody who played that mining and smithing beta probably does. Yeah, you got to.
This is something you got to do, because they're two very good charities, which we talked about last week, CPSL Mind and the Princess Trust. The CPSL Mind, they provide advice and support to empower anyone experiencing mental health issues, and they also want to improve services, raise awareness, and promote understanding. Whereas the Princess Trust believes that every young person should have the chance to succeed. They help those in the range of 11 to 30 years old who are unemployed or struggling at school to transform their lives. And in 2018, they helped more than 58,000 young people turn their lives around. So I think if there's any reason to purchase a chick axe, that's the reason.
That's it. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So whether you use some RuneCoins to accelerate your progress, or you actually buy some bonds to increase the rate at which you received crystallized fragments, it's a win-win all around. And I think that, sure, we have the Easter quest, and that's great. It's a nice little spring theme to it. The Easter Bunny is there. It's not outwardly creepy like I think the 2016 one was with the Oompa Loompa thing.
Yeah,
whatever that was.
But this is a really hard. It's a really hard holiday to try to get right. I mean, it's difficult. So, yeah, it's a good place for it. Like to put the charities.
Yeah, and I
think it's good too.
I mean, RuneScape, doesn't need to go full traditional for these events. They have earned the right to have a bit of creative license on these over the last 18 years or so. So I think they had a good balance this year.
I thought this year was one of the better ones. I think the Sliske quest was my favorite ever.
You must have played it with audio
remember
off.
That
then.
one? Oh yeah,
Sliske and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I liked
that one. Was fun. It was
I found the song cringeworthy, and just maybe it's because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at times is creepy as well.
That's definitely
I think wasn't it meant to be super creepy though?
I would hope so, because if they did that unintentionally, it would be weird.
I hope it was creepy. I played it with the sound off though.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right. Let's see. Is there any way to boost the amount of crystallized fragments that you get if you do different skills? I don't think so. I think it's all just pure skilling. So, there is another thing this week that was glossed over, and I did mention on the weekly bite on our YouTube channel, which comes out every Monday at youtube.com/RSBANDB. And what we ended up actually getting this week, in addition to this, was something near the middle of the news post this week in regards to the butterflies, the Guthixian butterflies. They reduced the daily cap on the number that you can capture from 20 down to 10, but they doubled the XP that they give. And there's also a new bonus XP butterfly that you can catch, and there are 10 of these, and they will provide 1.5 times the XP that a normal butterfly does. And then there's a super XP butterfly that has a daily cap of 1 and provides 5 times the normal XP that a butterfly does. And it's worth noting that Iron Men do not receive the bonus XP from these butterflies. So.
Okay. Do you go for the butterflies, Shane?
No, because most of the time when I've seen them, I've been on farming runs, and that's a timed venture. So
I usually get real frustrated because I click like 30 times and I'm constantly miss it, and I'm just like, I give up, I quit, I don't know.
Yeah, and plus the capture radius is really small, so I imagine that's a bit of an issue for you.
Yeah, it's a pain. So I'm like, I'm not going to do it unless it's like literally on top of me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I believe that's good for the spring event, or rather the Easter event on this one. We can move on to the patch notes right now, unless you guys have any qualms with doing that.
No, I just want to say, I do appreciate the chance that we get to be proud to be RuneScape players. That's always nice. It always makes you feel good. And this was definitely one of those weeks, working with the charities and stuff.
Yes, indeed. All right, so moving on into the patch notes this week, there's now an option to adjust zoom sensitivity for the camera in the game interaction options. And there's also a new Freedom Classic camera mode, which combines the zoom and angle range of Freedom with the movement of the classic camera.
The zoom option is really cool. It took me a long time to find it.
Yeah, it's right at the top of game interaction. I found that really quick. I don't know what caused you to have issues with it. Do you have any ideas on that?
I don't know if I wasn't looking the right spot or wasn't expecting it to be. I don't know. Sometimes it's the smallest things that I miss, but it's not for any reason other than like I'm only looking at a certain little portion of the screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it might not have been in my like field of view, but it did take me a while to catch it. But it's nice.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
I don't know like, I personally can't see the difference between classic and normal mode. I mean, David, do you know which ones you use, or which camera mode you prefer, or do you see any difference?
I don't know what the difference is.
And that's the thing. I feel like someone needs to explain what the difference is between these, because yes, there is a hover state that says that, but still, it's slightly confusing to me what the difference is. I see that if you look at this and that, it says classic, this has a shorter maximum zoom and increased default rotation speed, whereas modern is longer maximum zoom and reduced rotation speed. Now, Freedom has extreme zoom and angle modes. That means that Freedom Classic then should just have an increased rotation speed on regular Freedom. And, I mean, I personally can't see any difference between these, so this is one of the settings I said that actually should just go away in-game, because, I mean,
because we don't need two different camera styles.
Right? It could be useful, right, for like making videos or something. Isn't that why you would use that, or no?
You can get the camera really low in that regard, but beyond that, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you got me. I don't know.
It's a little bit confusing for me, but anyways, moving on. For Elite Dungeons, and this is a good reason you're here, David, added duo loot tables across all 3 Elite Dungeons, buffed the base loot on the Temple of Amanishi for trio mode, buffed the base loot value for all bosses inside the Shadow Reef, and most notably the Ambassador.
Yeah, I mean, that is really important. I think that duo mode is a good change, because EDs are in a weird place prior to this update, where trio was pretty much only useful for gaining KC to get a pet threshold. And then solo was good for money, but duo basically didn't have any purpose, because duo was, you got the worst loot or whatever because you were in group, but it wasn't nearly as fast as trio to make up for it, or as easy. And so I think that's nice. Temple of Amanishi, I'm not sure what the new rates are for trio. My guess is trio still won't really be viable in terms of money making, although solo Temple of Amanishi is such fantastic money that I think that's fine. And then solo Elite Dungeon 3, without getting crossbows, profited between 10 and 15k GP an hour. So that was not okay. I don't think that's a good profit, and that's without using best in slot gear. Like, if you're to use a grimoire, you would have suffered significant losses killing Elite Dungeon 3. So I think, regardless of what you think, the highest level of PVM should profit, 15k an hour is probably
15k an hour is absolutely not worth it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and like, I mean, crossbows, if you got an average of one crossbow piece every 25 hours or 30 hours, say, then those, it ends up being like, whatever, 5 mil an hour, 6 mil an hour, whatever the math is on that, I'm not sure.
But at that point, you might as well be better off just going to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, it was significantly worse GP per hour than God Wars Dungeon 2, and I think that Elite Dungeon 3 solos is a much, much higher difficulty than, like, Vindicta or Hellweaver.
You know what has surprised me on the ED3, though? I would assume you'd probably already know this, David, but wow, the combat XP is actually good. Like, I was shocked to see, like, it averaging, like, 1.1, 1.2 mil an hour. I was like, wow.
It's really, really good. It's really good for all 3, I think. Yeah, the combat XP for a lot of the recent content, going all the way back to, gosh, it's been so long since I played it. The like rift that you enter in Lumbridge Swamp, where you get mutated
Nexus.
Yeah, no, that's the prayer mini event. This is Shattered Worlds. That's what I'm talking about. Shattered Worlds. Yeah. Going
that
back
used
to
to be
Shattered
on top.
Worlds, the last several like mob style dungeon type things they've released have been pretty incredible combat XP.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the new benchmark for even okay combat XP is 1 mil an hour, which is just wild to think about.
yeah, it really is.
It wasn't that long ago that ice barraging in the abyss was like the only way to come close to that, and now 1 mil an hour is just like average. And you can easily push 1.5 mil an hour in some places. Yeah.
And it's fun to see these different techniques that work. Like last week when I was taking part in a little miniature strength competition, we had someone that was using a scythe in the abyss, and they're pulling around a mil 1, mil 2, or something like that. And then we had someone doing the ED3, and they're pulling like 100. I don't know, it was probably 100K a run, but they're doing a run like in 5 minutes, and then they're resetting it. And,
right, yeah,
like that. I'm like,
you just keep going again and again.
Yeah, and then here I am, like, master of dead quest content up here doing armored zombies, but guess what? I won. I'm a winner. Because I know dead quest content.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I think the duo mode is especially nice. Sometimes it's really hard to find a third person to do elite dungeons for me because most of the people I know already got their thresholds for pet and are now just doing solos because it's better money. And so I'm hoping that, but sometimes it's not that hard to find one other person to do something. I really enjoy duo content a lot. I think that's starting to become my favorite type of PVM is duo content.
And I believe you do have an article coming out about this later this month, and it's kind of interesting that you timed this with the RS guys live stream on this, and just showing how crappy this profit rate can be, and there is that perception out there that anything PVM is way out there in terms of profit that you can bring in, but you're going to actually be talking about all the costs on that. And I guess with this in this patch notes segment, one question I have for you on this is: do you think that without going full best in slot gear, best in slot food and whatnot, do you think the elite dungeons, aside from just doing them for fun, are going to be a good thing to do after all these little buffs here and there? Because
I don't know what the ambassador buff looks like. So I sold 2 ED3 leeches today, and I'm about to sell another leech after the show's over. So that'll be all the ED3 I've done since release, and I got 1.5 mil both times, which is a lot better, I think. So if it's now if they brought the average drop closer to 2 mil, then I think that's pretty good. Well, it's not great, but given that the crossbow pieces are fairly good, like it's kind of in line with their new thing, which is PVM shouldn't be as much money consistently. You should be relying on like the special drop at the end type of thing. At the end of a long grind, you get like a big drop.
All right, fair enough.
But yes, I don't know yet if it'll be worth it. It's also a hard question, just because Telos is so good that if all you care about is just money, then you shouldn't do anything else. So that's like the ever present difficulty is how good they made that boss.
Well, they really broke it with that one, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like Telos and 7-man AOD, if your team is really good, those two things are kind of outliers, and everything else is just on a. So on the non-Telos scale, then it's possible that ED3 will be worth doing now, but I'm not sure yet.
They have also added several rare high-value drops to the non-boss creatures and the Lucky Charm in the Shadow Reef. and the loot has been slightly buffed for the elite chests and added a 1/15th chance to receive an ultra elite chest that contains additional loot.
Yeah, I love the elite chest idea so much. I probably won't take advantage of it so much just because the way I play the game is so min-max focused, and my goal is IFB, so that's all I really care about. But that's a really fun addition.
Yeah,
I really hope that people are getting some enjoyment out of that.
Good. All right. Moving on to the next set of patch notes, Overcharged Rings of Death can now be worn via the action bar. So I guess you would only slot the Ring of Death before you're about to die? Is that what this means?
Sounds like a switch.
Or swapperoo?
A lot. So it depends. Sometimes you just bring a Ring of Death for a switch when you're going to die. But a lot of times now, like, Ring of Death has become standard instead of the Asylum Surgeon's Ring.
Oh, really?
Because the standard setup for Solak is an 8.5 mil grave, which is kind of steep. And so I just bring a Ring of Death for Solak now with a Ring of Vigor switch. I don't bring a Asylum Surgeon's Ring because at Solak you could die anytime, just some silly mistake or you lag for a second or something like that. And 8.5 mil deaths are pretty brutal.
That's how much it costs to get your stuff back?
Yeah. From
Really?
the sort of for the standard Solak preset.
Holy crap!
Yeah, because you've got your full tier 90 mage gear, tier 92 wand and core, tier 92 died or seismic singularity offhand. And then you need another offhand seismic or core if you're bringing lunging. And then you need a full tier 92 melee setup with Kopesh's, CGS, Scythe. If you bring it, a lot of people don't bring Scythe. It's not really necessary. And then a flanking switch for melee. And then you need your, SOS as well. So you're bringing, you basically bring 2 full sets of tier 92 gear, including all of the relevant switches for those styles, because you hybrid melee and mage for Solak. So you're bringing a ton of items.
This, folks, is what people don't understand about PVM.
No, because I came close to a mil death. I think it was last week, and I about came out of my chair. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I've never paid this much to die. I've never."
Oh, I had some 700, 800K deaths when I was doing the Elite Dungeons with David here.
Yeah, that just happened to me for the first time. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! This is ridiculous.
I don't know if you can put it on screen, but if anyone is interested, I could upload a screenshot of my select preset real quick.
Yeah, sure. We'll put that in since we're talking about Ring of Death. So I'll put that in the show notes. But we'll move on to the other patch notes and come back to that when you've got it uploaded. Skilling-wise,
Sure.
the Pyromaniac perk will now once again give the correct XP for all logs burned when it triggers.
Oh, that's good.
And prevented the bushy magic beans from attempting and failing to grow wishing well bushes, since those have been removed. And in the teleport area, fix the Horde Stalker ring not teleporting to multiple locations despite having the required level. And finally, the Arc Journal can once again be used to teleport to Port Sarum before unlocking Arc teletabs. Let's have a look at these screenshots you posted here in the doc. So we got your Solak preset, but more importantly, we got your death cost. We have an 8.6 million GP death cost.
Plus, when you die, you lose the buffs from your incense sticks. So that's over a mil right there.
Which sticks are you using, by the way?
Spirit Weed and Quarm.
What does Spirit?
Quarm increases the damage of your poison when applied from weapon poison, so it makes your weapon poison hit harder.
All right.
And Spirit Weed makes it so that your summoning special bar recovers quickly, so you could use Titan specs more often.
All right.
Those are the ones we called. Remember, Shane?
Yep, that and Lantademy.
That one's not worth using, unfortunately, because it's more expensive than the overload.
That's the thing. Many people think that it is worth using. That's why it's actually still selling for above market value, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's not. Right now, the math doesn't work out on it, or at least that's what everyone told me. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm pretty sure that it is not worth using. But the summoning one in particular is fantastic. I've been buying those for like 330k each or something. They're just so expensive.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I'm doing after the show.
Well, you should test the prices because with any new item.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even if it's not even that price, and there's a good chance because those use lower level logs and lower level ashes, I will be able to recoup more cost off those than I can off the Lantademy sticks, because realistically, I can pull in 100 of each of those herbs from each herb run that I do.
Yeah, Wazzy made a video of like new money making method, and I think he was getting like 10 mil an hour killing pyre thieves.
Oh, because those drop. Drop the accursed ashes.
Or pious.
Yeah, the ones for the spirit weed is what it drops.
Okay. No.
Yeah, but that's why.
And I knew those had
that select.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's rough when you.
Well, now I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is it like? But other than like Solak, death really isn't a thing, right? When it comes to like the old stuff, the raids and the Rago and Rise of the Six. No one's dying at that stuff though, right? Anymore.
Well, I mean, yes, it is true that I don't really die. If I were to die at Virago, my death would cost 3 mil.
Okay.
So I mean, that's still like not nothing.
No, that's more than I would want to for lose. But
like, I don't really die at Virago.
Yeah.
I'd have to, yeah.
And I imagine God Wars 2 would probably be less than the Virago ones, death cost wise.
I don't even die there.
Probably about the same.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's just best in slot. Basically, it's best in slot melee is the most expensive for me because of dies. Best in slot mage is second most expensive for me, but it's like it's very close. And the problem with Solak is you're bringing both best in slot magic and best in slot melee.
See, you shouldn't get charged because it's died. I mean, that didn't help you none. You're just paying the look dice. I mean, what's up with that?
I don't think it's that much more though.
Okay.
I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I think it would be about 8 mil without the dice.
Okay. Make sure you do include a good section in the article about these deaths costs, and maybe even link back to this little bit of a micro discussion on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think people realize how much you get. It's like a lot. Like 8.6 mil is a lot. Like if I die twice, that's more than a lot of skillers make in an hour, probably.
In an hour? That's more than we make in a week.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I died 3 times at Solak in 1 hour yesterday, and all 3 times I didn't have a Ring of Death on because I put on a Ring of Vigor to use Berserk, and I died on the same tick that I used Berserk, and so I had a Ring of Vigor on for those 3 deaths, and that cost me 25 mil, which was brutal.
Yeah.
PVM ain't easy, folks. It might look like a easy moneymaker, but there are still things that you can get dinged by moving through that. So that's what we want to learn going forward with this. So, all right. So let's talk about the this dev Q&A that happened this week. Now, I think that we're all on record here of having various opinions about the comp cape rework one way or the other. I still have a bit of a question about having virtual 120 alls on the insane skilling cape. That is the tier 3 one. Tanis had issues last week that we ironed out. David, what do you think of the comp cape rework going forward before we dive into what was talked about on stream?
So I think that when I looked at the initial reasoning behind the design, I thought that there were some things that made sense to me and some stuff didn't. I thought that this argument that they're making in this 4th part, which is that there's such a big gap between all quests and all skills to 99 and the completion escape that there'd be nice to have some things in between. For me, I'd still, if it were me doing it, I would still like for there to just be, different things on the way to comp, and then comp is just the most difficult. And I'd also be fine with like adding more requirements. Like I kind of think that the completion escape should be incredibly hard to achieve. Like when the completion escape was first made, it was made where only one player in the game had those requirements. It was like Castle Wars, I think was their name. So, but I think that it seems like for most people, this is going to be a big improvement. Yeah, I also think that 120 all is like kind of a big requirement, but at the same time, it like makes sense to me. I don't think that. I think that it's much easier to get 120 in all skills than it is to get Golden Warden or Insane Final Boss, for example. Well, I think Insane Final Boss might be comparable to 120 all. I don't know.
All right. Is there anything in the design docs that you've read that outright sticks out to you as something that should be changed or moved away?
Well, so I'm actually confused, and maybe you could clear this up for me. So it says things like Ava's Alerter and Spirit Cape. Once you unlock them, they'll just apply to the player. Is that correct?
Yes, and you'll be able to choose you'll effectively be able to choose a selection of these passives that you want to have on your character at a given time.
Oh, so there'll be a limit to how many you could have.
Yes, that's the sense that I got from this week's stream. It's not going to be all of them. There'll be a pool that you can choose from, and you'll put them on.
Okay, so is there any cape that I could get that would be equivalent to what the completionist cape currently is?
If you have, when the comp cape rework comes out, there will be a legacy comp and a legacy trim cape and the current max cape in game, so that if you got your comp cape as it was prior to or even after this rework comes out, you will still be able to get the comp cape as it is today and wear that and have its benefits and colors and everything with it.
Wait, you have all its benefits and is stats included in that too?
Yes.
Wow. Wait. I didn't realize that. So for people who already have comp,
there's going to be a legacy comp and legacy trim item that you will be able to have.
Okay, and so is there an incentive for me to do? Okay, so then what? This is a little interviewy, sorry, but so what incentive then, given that, would I have to say go for tier 3 skiller, other than just like for the success of it or whatever, for like the sense of achievement? There
will be new passive benefits that will be unlocked onto your character, and we don't know what the ones for skilling or lore will be, but but for example, say for the combat cape, you will get, I think they described a passive plus 11 armor and some style bonuses that will apply directly to your character, and then those will stack with any other cape that you would wear. So that's what you get for completing it under the new system. You get passive stat buffs.
Interesting.
That are on your character. Yeah.
Okay. And then something that has been going around a lot on PVM Twitter, like Malad, who's a popular streamer, posed a question to PVMers for whether or not they should think that Reaper should be tier 1 PVM or tier 2 PVM. And a lot of people so far have voted that it should be on tier 1 PVM, which wasn't surprising given the audience that was being polled. Something that I have always struggled with, the one argument that I think is reasonable, I guess, for why it shouldn't be tier 1 is that it limits their potential for making really difficult bosses, because they'll, for some reason, not make a boss that's too hard, because then no one will be able to get their capes back. So what do you think about that mentality generally? To me, that seems really silly.
I don't know. That's actually something that was discussed. That was discussed in the stream, and we'll get to it. That was actually an important part.
Great. That's the thing from the PVM side. The thing I'm most interested in is fixing the problem that, to me, it's ridiculous that this is a problem of design being limited by these capes.
Right.
And I guess the same would be true for
skilling
to 120 or whatever.
Exactly.
Like,
and that's what we talked about a lot last week with skills to 120 as well. So I think that's a good time to move into the Q&A on this. And they opened up with this. So why are we running around making decisions on this? And they said Mod Jack speaks the truth when he's on the stream, and I think everybody who's talked with Mod Jack knows that. He'll tell you what you want to hear even if you don't like it. And he said that quite frankly, progress needs to be made on the project, because if they're not making progress, it's not a project, and that's not good internally. So the controversial things that pop up, they're going to wait to throw into the rework. So, for example, one of the things they're still batting around is where will Reaper go? And that's what we were just talking about. But there are solid things that everybody agrees on, such as customizing passive benefits, and those are being paired off of the various capes and the various comp cape that exists in game right now, and being able to be put onto the player in a good way through the interface. So that has started work already. He also said that considering what achievements or requirements go on each tier is a relatively simple thing to do from a development perspective, in that they can just move them around really quickly. So if they make a mistake with something right now in the design, that could be potentially one of the last things changed before the project goes into QA before it's released. So if there's an achievement that is at tier 2 but should really be at tier 3, that can be changed really easily. So, and they still want to hear about that from everybody. So, as we always say, be kind, be civil when bringing these things forward. They also talked about stats and some confusion that has arose from that. Total stats in the design document for the rework is lower than what you can get right now, and figuring out how to get parity, and that is basically where the cape stats equal the current comp cape, is figuring out how to do that with the current capes is something that they're going to work on going forward. But regardless of what happens, it will not be a nerf. So everybody can be happy about that. And unlike mining and smithing, we talked a lot about mining and smithing, how, is this a buff or is this a nerf to the way mining works? Is this a buff or a nerf to the way smithing works? This is something that is easy to tell if it's a buff or a nerf, because there are actual numbers associated with it, and all you need to do is add them up. So, simple.
So one thing that is giving me some slight pause is, it seems to me like there's a huge incentive to finish comp prior to this update coming out, if you're close, or if comp is a goal that you've had in the past. Does that seem correct to you? Okay.
Because you'll be able to
get... Why not?
Because you'll be able to... So effectively what happens when this update comes out, comp as it is right now will be rolled into the legacy comp cape, and you'll be able to get that before the update, and you'll also be able to obtain that after the update if you want it as well, the cape.
Oh, okay. Great.
So you'll be able to comp as it is, or as it was when the update hits before, and the same thing after.
Okay. That's good.
They said in general, anybody who has comp enjoys the process of getting it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. And the goal is to make the process easier to see, not necessarily making the actual process easier. I kind of disagree with the first part, because I know many people I've talked to, don't get comp because they enjoy the process. They get it for another reason. So
yeah, and people that I think that. People that get comp too, they either are doing it for the combat side of things, or they're doing it, or they don't want to do the combat side of things. They just have to, So you definitely get both ends on that. But I thought they made a really good point on the stream about that, talking about, look, this stuff didn't exist before. These
exactly
difficult group bosses and stuff. That wasn't a thing.
We're going to get to that in a bit when they talk about, in particular, absurd requirements that some people want on the comp cape. The next one was very important, and this is exactly what we talked about last week on the show and what we nailed down. When it comes to names of the capes and labeling things, calling them Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 is ultimately confusing. Mod Breezy acknowledged that. And it's a working name. And in general, the better names are Comp Cape, True Comp Cape, and Insane Comp Cape, which
that's
we all agree
so
with.
important.
Yes. Yep.
Quit RS3 over tier 3 has been a very popular Twitter. Is it a flag? Is that what you call it?
Hashtag or something, probably.
Yeah, but it's like right next to their handle, you know. So every tweet has it right next to the handle. It's more like a Reddit flag, you know. But something like that's. Anyways, that's been a very popular thing on RS Twitter.
Well, you know, to be honest,
quit RS3 over T3.
To be honest, anyone who's saying that doesn't have the mental fortitude to go through a design document. You know.
I mean, I think it's just a joke, but it's like the T3 thing has not. T1, T2, T3 has not been a good PR move. I'll say that.
No.
And
we shouldn't have to be able to go through a design document and understand it. We're supposed to be able to play the game, and they're supposed to be able to tell us.
That's
in
why
plain
people
English.
That's why people should listen to RSBANDBUpdate.
Right. But they did. But if you notice, Shane, they did a much, much better job of that in this stream versus earlier streams about the same thing. Like, this stream made a lot more sense.
Yeah. That's what I don't get. I don't get how some of the streams can be good like this one from the messaging perspective, but some be utter horrible. I don't get that.
Well, it's the timing. This was the right time to have this stream to explain things to us. The prior ones, I don't think they helped. It definitely didn't help me, because last week I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I don't want this. This is not good. And it was only through talking with you guys
turn you around in the span of about 15 minutes.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it really is on how you're explaining things and how you're talking about things. I mean, especially in my case, because I really view myself as like your really typical average kind of player, like your average modern player. Like a lot of my concerns are the same concerns I hear from everybody. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
I don't have the same, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have the background that you or Sirion have, right? I'm just a player. So like, this stuff doesn't make sense to me. And all I see is, I might lose something. I don't want to lose nothing. You get that primal like instinct going. It's like, but yeah, this made a lot better.
Yeah, and then the best part of this stream, and maybe the best part of the comp rework process to date, is they said, here's the best way to think about the comp cape rework. It's adding a new tier to make certain requirements easier and provide a new challenge for players that want it, as well as adding subtypes to the comp process, like lore, skilling, and the other ones, that should be milestones along the way to provide clearer goals as to what comp is. And this ultimately makes it more clear to see what part of the game's content this content actually lies in.
Yeah, it seems like 6 months from now, or 6 months after the update, once all the complaining
everyone's
stops,
people
will realize that this was a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I still think that there are like simpler ways to do it, maybe. But I guess if they're gonna spend this much time on it,
you want to do it right, and you need to
redo it.
You need
totally.
You need to take it from the ground up. So.
Yeah. No. Okay. This is making more sense to me.
So yeah, everyone just needs a little bit of RSBANB update to make these things make sense.
They do.
In terms of complexity, in terms of items that need to be reworked or potential balancing issues, smithing was the most complicated, followed by mining, or rather, smithing was the most complicated, then mining was less complicated, and now the comp cape is even less complicated than mining was to rework in terms of game complexity. So take that for what it's worth as well. So they're saying that this is going to be much simpler than the mining and smithing rework.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Because you're not touching various aspects of the game. You're not balancing stats. You're only balancing the one stat that exists in the game, and you just need to find a different way to make sure it doesn't get nerfed.
Now, with that, though, I just want to caution the people over at Jagex that 100% makes sense, especially on a technical level. But perception is key. And for players, a lot of us, that cape, that's that's a symbol. That's how people perceive us. So there's a lot of our identity as players is wrapped up into that. So like technically, yes, I am sure it's easier. That makes total sense. But this could be just as touchy of a subject as Mining and Smithing.
You know what the carrot's going to be for this?
What's that?
It's going to be those designs they showcased and the polling around them.
Dude.
We'll get to that in a bit.
The pictures?
Yeah.
Like the image?
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll
man.
Yeah. But that's going to be how they're going to convince people. And I'll tell you why I know that when we get there. Now, they also said there's lots of different people who want something different from this rework. They think that their fix should be the CompCape rework, and that should just be shipped. For example, remove Reaper or add 5.4 billion, 200 mil all for the insane CompCape. And ModJack effectively said this is a bad idea because right now in game there's only 504 people with 200 million in all skills or 5.4 bill XP. And the goal is to listen to everybody's opinions and find a middle ground. And furthermore with this, if you look at the cross sections, there's 1,100 people with 1K in Rage Telos, but only 18 people with 4K in Rage Telos. So if you had an insane CompCape that required 5.4 billion total XP, 200 mil all, combining it with 4K in Rage Telos, which means that, you'd probably be in the single digits of people who are actually able to get this right now.
That's the thing I do love.
I know almost all of the people with Gold Warden because they're in my friends chat, but not very many of them have 5.4.
Exactly.
You're just that's going to be really, really rare.
Yeah.
And like you said, Shane, I mean, this is one of the reasons that you gotta love ModJack because he just doesn't take shit from anybody, from any community. It's like, no, you guys are wrong, and you're wrong, and you're wrong.
I'm surprised that the 1K in Rage number is so low. I expected 1K in Rage Telos to be much higher.
That's because we're all in our own bubbles. It's not any different than politics. Like, we're all in our own bubbles. Like, for me, I mean, I know you have a little bit of a different opinion about 120s because of the whole treasure hunter and stuff, but like from a skilling side, I'm over here going 120s ain't really that big of a deal. 5.4 that takes some time, but it's doable. Where other people are probably sitting there going, piss on that. I ain't never doing that. Like just the time that it would take. The same as like 1K in Rage. That probably doesn't seem like anything to you. Where I'm going. If I could kill Telos, if I could just
third dimension. Welcome to the third dimension, both of you guys.
Thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
Will you be our host?
Yes.
All
and
right.
your talk about bubbles is entirely true, and I think the more and more we look into that, as seeing people in their own bubbles and seeing different things, we're going to reach different understandings. So.
Yep.
So. I'm very pleased about that. Now, next up on this was the talk about Reaper. So I think this is a good thing to bring up because I think it's one of the most contentious combat requirements that are out there. So, the argument for Reaper is that it's the CompCape, so you should be required to do everything. Or the other side of the coin is that the playstyle behind Comp effectively predates EOC and difficult bossing because post-EOC bosses were made with the intention of being difficult, but completionists in-game for achievements, quests, and skills existed before EOC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So this is one thing. I have a couple of questions about this. So the first one is that I think that we can all agree that there are at least several skills that we would call buyables. Obviously, like anything can be done Iron Man style.
Yeah.
But in terms of everyday play, skills like herb lore, skills like construction, even on Iron Man, construction is a buyable because you have to pay a lot of GP for it. Skills like prayer, right? Those skills you get 120 or you get 99 in those skills by spending lots of money, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
in a way, the Reaper title's the same. What you could buy a level 3. Well, you can't do the solo stuff as a level 3, but a level 3 could buy all of the group content for Reaper. It's very easy to sell every group boss, Yakamaru, Beastmaster, Farago,
Solak?
Rise of the Six, Solak. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every single boss can be sold to a level 3 without a lot of difficulty. Now, we'll charge more for a level 3 because, like, they have to be intercepted 100% of the time or they die. But when you get to a level 138 account, that's max combat, you can purchase. What I'm saying is that every single one of these bosses that are group bosses are 100% purchasable by anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how little combat experience you have. If it doesn't. They can all be purchased. And so my question is, like, why is that so different than buying a skill? Now, obviously, like, they're not intended to be leached, I guess, but, like, I don't know. Are these skills intended to be buyables? Like, maybe they are.
I think it comes down to the fact that buying kills is effectively a trust trade.
Well, but buying kills is like,
true.
But you don't have to do anything. You don't have to interact with that content. You go stand in the corner while everyone does the work, right? But even though you call they're called buyable skills, right? I mean, yes, you still, but what do? You're buying the herbs. You're buying the secondary. You're making the potions. Like, no matter what the buyable skill is, you're still doing the action.
But to me, this is my argument, which is that Group Reaper, if you look at it as a buyable, is easier than any buyable skill. It is more difficult and takes more time to purchase any buyable skill. So 99 construction takes more time and requires more effort and skill than buying every single Group Reaper boss. But I think it's like factually true. Like it would take less time for you to purchase every single group boss. Because I've done it before. I've done a bunch of Reapers that someone was like, can we do Nex, AOD, Raids, Rots, Rago, ED 1, 2, 3, KK? Like, they bought every single thing, and it takes less than a day.
Holy crap.
Right. Yeah, no, and I totally get that, and that's why I don't know. That's why I don't like that requirement to begin with.
Yeah, so it takes less than a day and much less skill than getting a single 99 if you look at it as a buyable, which it is if you go to like an FC like mine. And you're right, Shane, that it is trust trading. Like, everyone in my friend's chat has so much to scam someone would be it just wouldn't make any sense. Like, no amount of money is worth scamming. Right? Yeah, because like, our reputation is worth so much more than like a bill in Legion. Like, say it's a bill for all that. I think it's a lot less, but like, say for example, it's 1 billion gold. I think it's less than that. Like, it is. There's no scenario where it's worth scamming someone out of a bill. Like, that's 3 orbs at Tellus. I could get that in 4 days. The reputation is way, way, way more valuable.
All right.
So I'm wondering. So given that, why is it that group content in particular is the sticking point?
Well, and I think the discussion was more about the fact that Comp came out in May 2011, but EOC came out in November 2012. So that's the other side of the coin right there. Yeah. And, I don't think it's much of a discussion even internally for Jagex on this. I think this touches into the next points here, is that they need to effectively find the middle ground and choose enough of a middle ground that everybody will be upset in a little bit of way and everybody will be happy in their own little way. And this goes into the next point that they made, and this is, once again, I think we were predicting the future on this, is that they said the solution to Reaper here might actually just to add story mode to all future bosses.
Yep.
And this is a long-term solution to the problem of difficult bossing, because EOC bosses were designed to be hard, but they didn't necessarily intend at the time to be creating this huge mountain for people to climb up on. And then
Well,
that's good, but this also touches into the next point in that polling won't solve this problem because non-compers will vote to make things easier, and compers and people who do PVM are going to be more inclined to prefer the status quo because there are just ways around it, like your purchasing method here, David, that works.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it always, like, that's an important thing I think that people have to keep in mind, is that it's not like it takes a certain skill level to be good enough to get your way through a purchase kill. Like that's not how it works. Like it is actually irrelevant, because we just adjust how much we help you based on what your skill level is. So if your skill, so like even like, for example, Tannis, if Tannis wanted to purchase, if you wanted to purchase Solak, you would get it probably first attempt. But it's like, I don't know. That's one thing that I think people aren't fully aware of, is like that you could just do that. And I mean, debatably, leeching shouldn't exist, and it's like unhealthy for the game. So like that, I think that's like a reasonable counter argument. But like, group PVM is too hard, EOC is too hard, skill cap is too hard. Like, given that it is functionally buyable in the same way that some skills are buyable, I don't really buy that argument too much.
Well, I think that it goes back to what they were intending, though, and when they came out with these much more difficult bosses, they intended for people like you, David, that really enjoyed that, could really get in there and have fun, but it wasn't being forced on everyone else.
I think it's time to look at the screenshot you sent me before we began, David, of the Reddit post.
Yeah, sure.
I'll quote this here. As developers, we can't and we shouldn't devote development time to something 15 people can do. I don't think that's a good use of our time. And the player retorts back with, well, mod Chris L made a cape for one player, though. Castle Wars, 5,000 games requirement. And Jack responds, and he was wrong to do so. And the other response following up from this is, amen. So remove professional cape and throw it into the depths of hell where it belongs.
Yeah,
professional cape.
Yeah. Well, so I think that a lot of the response to that, the reason that post is being shared so much on Twitter is negative commentary towards Mod Jack, which I didn't include because it's like just vitriolic.
Yeah,
and
that's not the point. That's
Twitter.
not why we're here. Yeah,
it's not constructive at all. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's just weird to me because I love that they spent the development time to make Telos go all the way to 4K, even though that 3 years later there's only 18 people who managed to be. To me, that's like an amazing thing, and I am worried. I'm worried about that mentality. Like, I think that when Chris L created Yakamaru, there was a tiny number of people in game who at the time were able to do that, but now because gear has advanced, strategies have advanced, teams have gotten better. Now there's a ton of people who have successfully done Yakamaru, outside of just leeching or whatever. Like Raid FC is like, not everyone loves it, but it's like, it's very thriving and people are killing that boss by the hundreds on a daily basis. And so it's like, yeah, maybe some content when it comes, like maybe content should be too hard when it comes out. And then it's not until the weapons from that boss or the abilities filter down through the game, and then you're able to buy them, and then the boss becomes easier because your gear, abilities, strategy, etc. Like, I get frustrated when people with like Solak, for example. I thought it was amazing that they came up with a boss that took me 20 hours to get my first kill. I thought that was incredible, and I think that it would have been a letdown if we got a kill first or second attempt. So
yeah, that's a good point. And, I think there's another way to look at this, too. It can come back to game balance in that, we know that this game is a living thing in that, what is hard today, if it becomes too easier, what would be wrong with taking a balance pass over some of the PVM that has become too easy? Or that might be still too hard?
Isn't that why Mod Jack also said, if this is such a sticking point, why don't we, I don't know, do what Shane said 3 weeks ago and make a specific combat achievement type of cape? Like, that was the best in slot. That did come from combat. That you didn't have to worry about the next boss coming out because it would be expected. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it would be offset from this comp thing all together.
And in some ways, I think that there is potential for a thriving ecosystem like this to emerge in RuneScape, because there are people like you, David, and everybody else in your friends chat, I assume, who are, if you guys had the impetus, would it be something that you would be willing to do, to go to all of these bosses and to try and refine your time and try and get the most DPS out of your character, if you could, like to just refine it and effectively compete with everybody else in kind of like a DPS high score system, if that existed?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I spent 4 hours today trying to... So my team spent like 4 hours today doing hard mode Virago speed kills, trying to break our own time.
Oh, there you go.
It's like the current top 3 times are all us. And so we're just like we're constantly trying to break our own time.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
And so with that... my point is that there is a community that exists for that, and maybe what should be done with Reaper instead is that Reaper should be taken out of this equation entirely for the bossing side of it and moved into its own little unique kind of combat league where you have all the bosses and you can have different high score tables for the boss. You can sort it by who kills it the quickest, solo kills quickest, DPS quickest, that kind of thing. Or DPS
I think that is really interesting to me. I like this conceptually. I also think that they should obviously have story mode with every future boss release. Like clearly that's what it should be. And even if it's identical mechanics, everything hits you for 10% damage, that's fine. Whatever it is. I think there should clearly be a story mode for all future content, but I'm aside from this idea you have, Shane, that would be this whole new thing, I definitely am on the Reaper should remain tier 1 or tier 2, but solo and group PVM shouldn't be separated. I like it's just so, it's an MMO. Like I don't, at a certain point, it's weird to me that we think of group content as this strange otherworldly thing that we should never have to do. Like, when did
Reaper's all bosses, right?
Yeah, Reaper's all bosses, and so one of the things they're talking about is separating solo Reaper and group Reaper, and I don't really. I
think it should be on tier 2 then.
But part of that, David, though, is I think it goes back to the circles we run in, and that sounds kind of crazy for someone like you, but for a lot of other people, I mean, if let's say you're trying to actually do the content, you're not just buying it.
Right, you're not just buying it, right.
You've got to. You can't even get into a team unless you have the best of the best of the best. You have to have all these requirements, and that's for the team to even accept you to go on a run with them. And that's where the group content really. I mean, yes, it is an MMO, but man, it gets a lot more complicated that way.
That's an interesting perspective, because when I heard separating group and solo, I thought, no, you can't do that, because that's called partitioning, and anytime you do that in design, you're effectively creating 2 different branches to go off of, and that creates potential deviation points going forward. And when you're looking at something like the comp cape, you want it to effectively be like a nice prune tree. You don't want to have little bits and bobs sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's true. But there are absolutely friends chats that exist that are specifically designed to help people learn and understand what it takes to get into those teams, and are willing to take people. Like, for a long time, Boss School was really active and helping people all the time. And then there's different friends chats for lots of different bosses, and those those wane and wax over time. But that's like a community building thing. Like that, you are correct that is a problem, that the community has a problem, which the classic, can't get a job unless you have experience, can't get experience unless you have a job. Like it's it's like the classic thing, right? It's like it's in life. We see it all the time. But and you're right that would require a lot of community work, which I think has to come to some extent from the game developers. Like, clearly it can't entirely exist organically, but but that's a problem with how we approach the content and not the content, though. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like that canon should be fixed.
All right. Next up in this stream was a talk about polling, and that this won't solve the problem. And I think we agree on that, because Tanis and I would vote for something, David, you'd vote for something else, and it's going to come out 50-50 either way, and people are going to be upset that it wasn't a clear majority. And this is what I've been saying ever since the beginning with this, is that this is something that Jagex needs to design internally, and if necessary, take it to a couple of focus groups. But I think it was an error to come out a few weeks back with that early design, because the way I see it is that what we saw mostly in changes in this design document were semantic changes. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that.
Well, I mean, maybe you would call them semantic changes, but I feel like it's more than that. I feel like they filled in a lot more. They told us more what they meant. See, Shane, you could look at this document and it made sense to you.
Yeah.
It didn't for regular people.
I looked at the very beginning document, and that's why maybe I say that what we have today looks exactly the same as it did 3 weeks ago to me.
Right, but it doesn't to me. Like, not at all. Like this
interesting.
Is more
because I see us reaching the same endpoint.
Yeah, I know. I think we did. I think we did kind of reach the same endpoint. And going back to the polling, this kind of goes back to something I said last week, where there's no way to make everyone happy. That's why I was really kind of leery of this. But going forward, I agree with you. I think there is a way forward. I think there is a way to convince people. I just be very careful of, like, don't underestimate what people have wrapped up in these capes. Like, that's my only concern. Like, don't minimize that, because it's important.
And I think that's why they had the legacy items that they mentioned that you'll be able to get.
Yeah. And I mean that does help, that helps. Me and my buddy were joking around earlier because we were looking at the concept art that they put up, and he's like, "Oh, this looks." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know about that one," and it's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. They'll just put a legacy toggle on it if you don't like it."
Yeah, and that was precisely it. And, I don't know if it was right to mention that at the end of the stream, that the legacy items will be in game with the old requirements pre or post rework, but hey, it's there. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the safety net,
Yeah, it is.
It's okay, guys. We're going to do something, but hey, there's a safety net. Which, maybe if we had a safety net and at other times, things would have turned out completely different, and I'm okay with that. Like what if we had, I don't know, Revolution? What if that was the safety net going back? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'll give them a chance on this one.
Yep, that's right. So, in any case, let's just have a quick detour on this, because we were watching the stream, and then there's this detour that Mod Shogun is actually a content developer now, and he's working on a Stone Spirit design, and this was a bit of a detour for this.
Yeah, it's like, what?
It's a design they can't show anyone yet, but it's being worked on. They're looking into the analytics to see if some things can be changed from drop tables to make Stone Spirits better and make them more convenient to use, such as having the ores you receive auto sent to the ore bank.
Yeah, they're still stuck on that idea, aren't they?
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Stone Spirits are something that I think, if anything, being on analytics, I think they'll probably have a bit of an ear from Mod Timbo on the project. Mod Timbo will definitely voice his opinion on that, since it involves balance. And I think as long as it's approached from a mechanical perspective, the analytics side, we'll come up with something good on that one. So.
Yeah, and I've come to the conclusion that it really doesn't matter what I think. Unless I have the numbers, there's no way to make a true determination of what the truth is with the stone spirit. So like, I'm just gonna set back on this one because there's just no way to know without the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the status quo is like terrible. I will say that it's become a like the complaining has gotten so intense that it seems like a joke, but it really is bad. If that I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like, because it feels bad, but what I'm saying is like, we don't know how bad or if that's the way we're perceiving it because we don't know what the actual like aggregate numbers
and this
are
all
of the
comes
whole
to living in your own bubble with your own perceptions.
Yeah. I mean, what it means is that any current PVM fight from Queen Black Dragon to Solak, if you roll Stone Spirits, it means that you will not make back your supply costs for that kill. So like at Solak, if you get Stone Spirits, it's like 80k to 100k on GE, and that replaced a drop that was formerly like 850k. And so like, I mean, you've seen what my supply cost looks like at Solak. I mean, just incense sticks alone. Like if you did 4 Solak kills and got bait and Stone Spirits 4 times, you would not come even close to covering the cost of your incense sticks.
Jeez, I'm surprised that that's even worth 80k if that tells anything. That sounded high to me.
Yeah, I mean, so like average drops are between 500 and 500k and 900 for like the commons, and that basically just pays for your supplies because Grimoire is so darn expensive.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but Stone Spirits are very not good.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of perspective, we could have someone else on the show with a completely different perspective, and we'd be having a completely different conversation right now. So,
yeah, sure. I should say from the perspective of someone who fights bosses,
exactly.
Stone Spirits are a really bad update,
right?
From the perspective of a miner,
there you go.
Kind of cool. Remember when there was that little mini gold rush, dude? That little mini gold rush was like. Stone Spirits were awesome for that week.
You think you could make another gold rush happen?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
But are ores higher than alch value? Are ores significantly higher than alch value? I'm asking. I have no.
Yeah,
like higher tier ores, like Baneite ores, or like Nick.
Let me have a look. Now.
Honestly, it's the mid tier that are probably much higher because.
Bane ore is 2.4k market. Alch value is 640 GP.
Okay. Well, so that's fine. I mean, I think that they should have just either removed it from the drop table and redistributed the probability over remaining commons, or just change out the ores for just straight cash. Either.
I'm with you on that, David. I totally agree with.
I don't. PVMers don't want like. None of us want like to bring skilling supplies back like that. Like no.
You guys want money, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care if I have 1 million ores or 1 million cash. Like it actually, one of them I have to spend 2 seconds selling on the GE. So like I like really don't want skilling supplies to be dropped. But I also don't want like literal like. Useless stuff, you know, like
people get real like sketchy about there's too much gold coming in, there's inflation. I'm like, nah, I don't think so.
You weren't around before construction.
No, I wasn't.
So all right, so speaking of that, let's move on to the next part of this, and that is the actual designs that they were showing off. And those watching on the video version will see this right now here. So these designs, the skill cape designs, these are the skill cape tier 1 designs that you're seeing on the video version right now. Go to the official stream URL for that. The link is in the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. There's 3 potential designs here for this skilling one. I prefer option A, I think, for the skilling cape. What about you guys? Of what we had there.
Yeah, I tend to think, but they're all clean, man.
Yep.
I mean, they all look pretty good. The scaling capes I like a
any
lot.
of them
Yeah.
in, and they'd be fine. It's also worth noting that you can recolor them.
That is the important part. And I wasn't real sure about that, so glad we clarified.
I mean, it sounds like it doesn't matter too much to me because either I'll like it more than the comp, or I'll just keep wearing my legacy comp, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It won't affect me at all.
But these capes they look sharp. Like they're actually And this is
the
lore ones, Shane. Do you see those?
Yeah, the lore ones are good. Those were the tier 3 lores they were showing off there.
Those are tier 3s?
Yeah, those are the tier 3 because...
I was like, man, those look really good.
The tier 1 will be the quest cape. The tier 2 will be the master quest cape as it appears now. Right? So...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it way harder, but boy, that was a clean-looking cape, man.
The combat ones have fur and various adornments on it. Look very... they look like combat capes. I would probably go for C on that one, the one with the big amount of fur on the back and the pointed part at the bottom. And all these capes are going to be pulled when they reach that stage. The design will be pulled. And I mentioned to you guys, how are they going to turn this update around? Well, lo and behold, here we are. They mentioned that the chat, who was watching on Twitch at the time, did a complete 180 of having very critical questions about the update to being, holy crap, this is amazing.
Yeah, I could see that because, I mean, yeah, I think these capes are clean, man. They look good.
And that's how they're going to turn this update around.
Yeah, I was really shocked. I didn't expect it, and so it was a really nice surprise. But...
Now the lore cape, yeah, that's tier 3.
Dude, that one looks good. That's too bad it's tier 3. I'll never get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get that, I guess.
Definitely A on that one, I think.
See, that's the one I like too. Yep.
Yeah, and they said that the effects that they're showing at the bottom of this, they want to do more than just the traditional particle effects that we have in game right now for the capes, like maybe some animated textures or maybe some kind of fluid coming off it that would pool below you, like a pool of blood for the combat one might be interesting.
What?
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
sweet.
sure.
Yeah.
So they are going and aiming to hit this out of the park with these designs. So
yeah, they
everybody
definitely
keep
are.
that in mind with what we're working towards on this. And they did mention that the entire community's perception of this just completely changed on the stream when they were seeing them. Now, if you look,
so hilarious. I've always said there's no end to RuneScape vanity.
Yeah, exactly.
we are very vain.
And the comp cape is at 36 minutes, 14 seconds. Once again, link in the full show notes at update.rsbnb.com. But if you look at this, you can see shades of the skilling cape in there. You can see shades of the lore cape with the way the star and cross is in there. And you can also see shades of the combat cape as well. So the completionist cape does aim to be effectively a combination of all of the different capes put together in their various design elements. And there's also one here with all the various zones that will be colorable. The new comp cape will have 4 different colorable zones on it that you'll be able to choose from. So
yes.
That should be something that people are going to be very happy with. And then they ended this off with a bunch of colored variation examples for the comp cape, which look really sharp on their own too. So they aim to provide all this with the textures and whatnot that exist in game currently. So, and then they got different evolutions for or pictures of how the tiers are going to progress going forward as well. So there's going to be a clear progression on that. Then finally, we have a big mosaic of all the different capes that can be potentially recolored here. So, and they're all going to be recolorable. So yeah, I think that's what's going to sell the update.
I think so. Because, those capes look good, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty into them. I'll probably go for all of them, unless 120 skilling is on tier 3 skilling, and I'm not sure I'll do that.
Yeah, all 120s is going to be on tier 3 skilling.
Oh, it's confirmed to be on it?
Yep.
Yeah, that one I might actually go for. I might actually go for that one, maybe.
I mean, I think that... I mean, I'm letting agility go to 120 with Silverhawk. I guess I could start doing daily
That's how you do that.
Daily divine use for woodcutting.
Yep, it only takes about a year and a half.
That's not bad.
No.
Oh, boy.
No,
Didn't they
did all of that.
they nerfed div, though, didn't they? Didn't they make div hard?
Because there's a little bit of a nerf on the cash, but you still...
Cash gives bonus XP now? Is that how it works?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
I'm pretty sure they nerfed cash.
I'm not sure. I don't do that one.
Yeah, because I'm not going to do that. I should have gotten 120 div back when it was easy. I messed that up. But yeah, God. Yeah, I guess I'll have to get 120 all. It'll take a long time though.
Oh, there you go. But
yeah,
Cape is now encouraging you to do things that you might not have thought of doing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely getting 120 agility because I think that the 120 agility cape looks really cool with a blue party hat, so I want that. But other than that, I haven't really gone for any skilling 120s. I just have like the 2 that are required for comp.
I have 7 or 8, something like that. But the one thing with 120s is they come. They just come when you
really.
Yeah, when you play. Yeah. I mean, kind of.
I mean, most skills are 1 mil an hour plus now, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, especially if you're into competition, Shane. Like if you are competitive, like you get 120s. Like I'm not going to say quickly, but quicker than you would otherwise. You know, like
I've heard 1 a month is pretty doable for most skills.
Yeah, depending on your bank or determination.
Yeah. I guess assuming money is a relevant factor, I've heard like 1 a month is about average.
Yeah.
Woodcutting takes forever, but yeah, I guess I just have to do it's World 48 use.
Yes.
Okay,
that is correct.
I guess I have to do
reset.
That
now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do that every day at reset. Like I said, my friend Brew has done it for years, and I think he's about a month, 2 months at most away from 5.4. So
nice.
Holy.
Yeah, just a little bit a day. It's amazing how it adds up over years.
As I did mention, there was also the last bit at the end where Mod Jack literally said, if you don't like any of these designs, Max, Comp, and Trim will still be obtainable as legacy items with the old requirements pre or post rework.
So there you go. What's not to like, right?
Amazing turnaround in 2 weeks on this.
Yes. Because I sincerely was like, no, let's not do this. And now
me too.
I'm like, okay, here we're going. We're in the right direction now.
The reason I didn't like it though was never because the idea I didn't think was good. It just seems like, and I think this is just true, that this is taking a lot of time and effort, and I would have liked to see that time and effort be put towards something different, but I obviously things aren't 1-to-1 like that.
Well, no, I think that's fair. I mean, that is a fair point because everything that's worked on means something else isn't being worked on. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
But if they get it right, then it's it'll be worth it, I think.
All right. Well, let's move on. And before we get to listener questions, I'll just take a moment to remind everybody about our Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/RSBANDB. And in doing so, I'd like to thank our Patreon supporters for this episode, who include Brock H., Diana, Kyle, Sojus the Devil, Tom V., and Zez. Thank you very much for your support of this podcast. It truly means the world to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, if you're interested in joining along for this, you can head on over to patreon.com/RSBANDB, and there you can sign up for as little as $1 a month. And if you do that, you'll receive a special mention in our show notes, gain early access to them when we start recording, as well as you'll have the ability to join our roundtable discussions when we do them, and vote on topics for the monthly bit. That vote is going up tomorrow, Friday, and by the time you Patreon folks are listening to this, you'll be able to vote for the topic of the next monthly bit. So that's what you get for joining for as little as $1 a month, as well as the whole catalog, the back catalog of monthly bits. For $3 a month, you'll receive a special VIP rank on Discord, special mention on the podcast at the start of the month, and access to high-quality stereo AAC versions of the show. And for $5 a month, if you want to do that, you'll get a shout-out on the podcast every week and gain exclusive access to the outtakes that we use for the clip show at the end of the year, in addition to everything else. And what we're doing with this, we do have some community rewards as well, including our monthly bit bonus show, which is focused around one issue for the RuneScape community that we discussed. These are released to Patreon supporters exclusively. For $30 a month, we have the Inside RSBANB update each month, where we have host interviews, talk with the production team, and ultimately learn how the podcast comes together, and maybe even a sneak peek of where we record the show. And when we reach $50 a month, that's the RSBANB Update Roundtable. On the first Saturday of each and every month, there'll be a RuneScape discussion for anything and everything RuneScape related, hosted in our Discord. And finally, should we reach $99 a month, that'll be movie night in Discord, where we'll watch our favorite movies once a month, and that is likely to include some Star Trek. So all this and more can be found at patreon.com/RSBANB, and thank you very much for your support, everyone. All right, so we have one listener question this week from Sunset Fish. What is an embarrassing moment from your RuneScape past?
Oh, God.
I still look back on this and cringe, but I'll share too. I remember bank standing trying to buy a Blueberry special. Think it was for a quest before the Grand Exchange, but I read it as Blueberry. So I stood in a bank spamming buying Blueberry special for at least 30 minutes before someone corrected me. Had to hop worlds out of shame. What about you guys? Open up.
Who wants to go first?
Also, a recent one for me is on Elite Dungeon 3 was when I found out that you could use a Spirit Cape on your comp cape to get the Spirit Cape benefits, despite having owned comp since
And what does a Spirit Cape do again?
Release. It makes your summoning special go down slower, or it increases it faster, something like that. It basically just makes it so your Steel Titan specs more often, which is a very relevant combat boost.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I owned the comp cape for well over a year without knowing that, which is kind of ridiculous.
All right, Tanis.
Well, I kind of have two of them. One, I feel like wasn't entirely my fault, but it's still really embarrassing and it hurts. And you probably heard me mention it before, but I got a decayed tooth drop and didn't see it and didn't get it. And I only know about it because my friend's like, "You got the pet! Woo!" I was like, "What? Where?" And I'm looking, and it wasn't there.
Oh no!
So that one was bad. I think the other real embarrassing one was probably Dimension of the Damned, where I am psyched up. I'm having the biggest stream of my life. Right, I've got 20-some people in here. It's like, whoa, yes, I'm gonna win, man. I'm gonna win. I'm going to Jagex. It's gonna be great. And I ran out there. And then I was looking at a lobby screen. I'm going, what happened? I'm dead. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Dead.
Do you know what killed you?
It was that invisible gas stuff.
Oh, right. You couldn't even see.
No. So, yeah, it sucked.
Oh, man. Not really your fault.
Still really embarrassed. I felt embarrassed. I was like, because I was so psyched and ready, and I had given Tycho so much crap over the weeks before then, and then died in 30 seconds. It's over.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I can't believe you left that tooth on the ground. I have 3,600 or 3,700 bandos, Casey. I've been trying so hard to get that drop, and you just left it on the ground like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough.
As for me, I back in the day, this is many, many moons ago. I don't know if this was a typing issue or if it was an actual scam, but I ended up paying about an order of magnitude more for a stack of nature runes than I needed to because I didn't check the exact price on the trade window.
Oh no!
Ooh.
So I think it was something like 1,000 nature runes or something that I was aiming to get. But I ended up only getting like 100 or so out of it. It was some order of magnitude like that.
Oh yeah.
Another one is
Classic
that
scam.
there was a thread going around that the cat training medallion was going to be removed. So you better go out and buy one. So I bought one for, I think it was around 250K at the point in time. But of course, those just came into the game in huge numbers and never became a discontinued item. I've been playing for so long, and before the G, I'm sure we were all scammed at least once. I can't remember specific instances.
I was scammed twice that I can remember
as such. So
two specific scams for me. The first was early on in free to play. I spent a really long time killing cows to get enough money for a rune scimitar. And I went to World 1, Varrock West Bank, and bought one for 30K, which is what they cost at the time. And someone at the last second swapped out the rune one for the iron one.
Oh.
And back then, you could barely tell the difference between rune and iron in the trade window. They looked basically the same.
And rune scimitars weren't plentiful at that stage.
No, it was hard to get. I mean, it was the best. It was at the time the best free to play weapon available.
Yeah,
and they're about 30K, and yeah, it was 30K at least for like a 7-year-old. It was hard to get that much. And then
you were 7 at the time?
7, 8, 9, something like that. Maybe I was older.
My daughter has a year.
I think this was 2003, I want to say.
Oh, I didn't know you've been playing that long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. My count is either 2003 or 2004. I can't remember.
Wow. So you have the 15-year cape then?
Yeah. I've been playing a long time.
I got the 15-year cape when it came out in 2017.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't have it. I actually have not gone to get it. I think I could get one right now if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other, a very similar thing, but Bandos Tassets swapped out for Varix Tassets, which was like 20 mil at the time versus like 1 mil. So that was rough. Yeah, glad they added exclamation points and whatnot.
Yeah, so I think the point here is that it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And to circle back to the original question, the Blurberry Special is the token drop that you get now on a failed Hazelmere Signet ring.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
So
what a fun drop.
Yeah.
That's the one where you gotten, but you weren't wearing an LOTD, or is that the one where you rolled?
That's where you were wearing the Luck of the Dwarves, but you had the 1 in 10 chance to get it, but you didn't get it.
Okay. Gotcha. That's funny.
Yeah.
Not if you get a Blueberry Special, or Blurberry.
Yep.
Look, I did it too.
Alrighty, thank you, Sunset Fish, for that question. If you guys want to send your own questions in, email them to questions@rsbnb.com, or you can leave us a DM or mention us on Twitter @RSBNB. Alrighty, so moving into tech news. Oh boy, what a week this one's gonna be. Some good news, some bad news, some downright horrible news. We'll start with the news that's right in the middle, and that is that Rocket League is no longer going to be distributing loot boxes in their game in Belgium and the Netherlands. And game developer Psyonix is, of course, following what other companies such as Blizzard, EA, Square Enix, and Valve have done. And what they have done is they have just removed the ability for players in these two countries to open the game's loot boxes that are with the keys that are purchased with real money. And they say this is due to government regulation, which, of course, is what both the Netherlands and Belgium has been doing. And, this is just another in a series of game developers that have just made the decision to do this in their games. And, I think we're going to start to see a point where you're going to have game developers that are going to have to come up with a different way of doing this. And, maybe, I don't have exact numbers on it, but I think this is a good time to point out that if you look at cosmetics and whatnot, maybe it's just time to just have a general cosmetics store where people can purchase cosmetics in-game.
Yeah.
Rather than rolling them.
And that's kind of what surprised me, just because I was like, wait a minute, Rocket League, it's just cosmetic, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's like Overwatch. That's what I thought. Like, it's just cosmetic.
Yeah. And you got to wonder what Jagex would do in these countries as well, right? Because you have Treasure Hunter.
Yeah.
So would Treasure Hunter not be available in the Netherlands or Belgium?
I don't know.
Or is Treasure Hunter as bad because it always gives something? Or is it just because there's still chance? And I think as more and more of these companies jump on this boat of going down this path, we're going to start to see that question crop up for most game companies. And what worries me is for games that depend on these boxes for their main source of profit, namely the one I'm thinking of right now is Star Trek Online, what would happen in those cases. And I think we're going to start to see some creative ways that the devs can get around this too. So,
yeah, but I think you're right, Shane. What would be so wrong with just having a cosmetic store that you knew what you're buying, this is how much it costs, and then you go and buy it.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely fine. But I also don't think it's wrong to just sell bonus XP. I don't it seems like the only difference between a Shooting Star promo and straight up selling bonus XP is one is less toxic, quote unquote, because you're not gambling. I don't know. I think even that would be.
Well, it's kind of gonna happen here.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. It seems like if they ever got to a point where they couldn't do Treasure Hunter anymore because of laws, wouldn't they have to switch to just selling XP? They couldn't just not have microtransactions, right?
Well, I don't know, because Jagex is kind of weird to where we have Solomon's, and that did Solomon's came in before Squeal, right? Before
Squeal Fortune, but it doesn't bring in nearly as much as it.
But that's because they neglect it.
Yeah.
Look at how many outfits and items come in off Treasure Hunter, because
Treasure Hunter is way better.
Rune Pass.
Right, Rune Pass. Exactly. Well, Treasure Hunter is better because of the XP and stuff. Yeah. But if you were looking at just the outfits that come in and stuff, they could have sold those on. Yeah, Rune Pass actually wasn't bad. It was a good trial.
Just got poisoned, but.
Yeah,
and Netherlands close to the UK, both in terms of course, geographic location, but regulatory structures. Well, we'll have to see what Brexit does with that. Belgium as well, and if the EU goes one way and the UK is, of course, moving out of the EU, there could be questions that UK might still want to match what the EU is doing. And, we are, of course, pointing to the UK and the EU right now. But, of course, the US is a big market, too. And I have to be honest, nothing's going to happen in the US regarding these. So
No. It's the American way. Let corporations scam the crap out of you. Bleed every last dime.
Well, speaking of wringing things out of users, let's move on to the next story.
This is becoming it's becoming a joke. Like, dude, we got a meme for this yet? Because it should just be a meme of me and Shane with just face palming every week. Like, what did they do this week?
So, as reported by NBC News, Mark Zuckerberg leveraged Facebook user data to fight rivals and help friends, leaked documents show. And Facebook users, high-end Facebook users, reportedly discussed selling access to user data, and of course, privacy was an afterthought. This comes from around 4,000 pages of leaked documents spanning the time period of 2011 to 2015, obtained by NBC News. They include emails, web chats, presentations, spreadsheets, and meeting summaries, and they ultimately show how Mark Zuckerberg, along with the board and his management team, found ways to tap Facebook's trove of user data, including information about your friends, relationships, and photos, and using it as leverage over other companies that they partnered with. In specific cases, Facebook would reward favored companies by giving them access to its data on its users, and in other cases, it would deny its rivals access to the data via the company's apps.
That sounds like collusion.
Yeah, and examples given with this, Facebook gave Amazon extended access to the user data because it was spending money on Facebook advertising and partnering on the social network on the launch of its Fire smartphone.
Some of the stuff that you talk about on this show, Jane, just sounds like something from a
from a witch,
like a movie or a TV show.
Like the
are you sure? Sometimes when you give these tech stories, I'm convinced that you're just reading from the script of some upcoming sci-fi dystopia,
Black Mirror or something.
You're just like, why are you leaking the next Black Mirror episode, Jane? Did you get? They give you authority to do that? This doesn't seem right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's exactly what it sounds like all the time.
In another case, Facebook discussed cutting off access to user data for a messaging app that had grown too popular and was viewed as a competitor.
Now, see, this is why you need regulations, because if you didn't get it before, companies aren't people. They are machines. They are machines that are programmed to make money. That's what they're doing. They're making money because no one told them they couldn't do this. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do that. Like, it's like programming a computer, right, Shane? Like, you have to tell it what to do. Because if you don't, it's just going to do whatever you told it before, like, oh, go make money. Okay. It's going to go do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And can we just, can we admit it? Mark Zuckerberg's kind of a prick.
Yeah, and there's actually rumblings that at the end, that in May that the shareholders might try and kick him off the board, but he does have a majority share still. So it would be symbolic, but it might happen.
Well, it's happened before. Poor Steve. Well, I mean, it can happen. It could happen.
Also with this, in contrast with the company's public statements, they came up with ways to require third-party applications to compensate Facebook for access to its user data, including direct payment, advertising spending, and data sharing agreements. So if the company didn't fall into one that was favored where they give the data for free, or if they were a rival where they just shut them down, you got to pay for it.
Yeah. Now I want everyone to think about this.
But it does say that Facebook ultimately decided not to sell the data directly, but rather to give it out to app developers who were considered personal friends of Mark Zuckerberg. So somehow that makes it a bit better, apparently.
I need a technical perspective on this. Okay. Because data sounds real sanitary, right? Like it's just your data.
Right.
Like it's but what happens? Say you just had a medical procedure, right? Or something. Maybe you're a dummy. Maybe you like to, well, not a dummy, but maybe you're an overshare person and you share everything on Facebook. And look at me. This is a picture of me in my hospital bed or whatever. Now, in the U.S., there could be consequences to that, right? Because the next time you go to get insurance, I mean, but seriously, is that the kind of data that could be picked up by an insurance company, because they could go to Mark and say, hey, how much do you have about, these people and their medical
and then you would
history.
data mine it for medical, or if you were looking for ads, you would data mine it for what does this person click like on, what person or what interest does this person share with their closest friends, and then they're more likely to buy something from an ad that is catered towards that. So the data, of course, can vary based on what kind of company is buying it, Right.
So, that makes sense. I guess where I'm getting at is this can have real world consequences that are beyond just, another company knows something
Cambridge
else about
Analytica.
me. No. Yeah, but I mean, when you're talking about your health and stuff, we don't have that system.
And that's one reason why, as time goes on, I am granted it's different here, but I am leery of, and I have thought of doing this before. I've actually thought of turning off all the health features on the Apple Watch.
Oh, interesting.
But you don't have to worry about being insured, man.
But still, it's not something that you necessarily want out there.
Oh no, yeah. I mean,
even if
you're
Apple
right about
says
that.
it's secure and it just stays on your device,
I
you can never be 100% certain.
I don't believe any of them anymore.
You can never be 100% certain.
No.
So
anything can be hacked, right? I mean,
yeah. And, I'll give you a great example of this, too. And we're a long ways away from this in regards to AI and whatnot. But the current season of Star Trek Discovery deals with AI and what happens when it runs away. And, Star Trek has never done a runaway AI story before. But what they're doing is actually interesting and a compelling way that it could happen in the future. And it just makes you look at technology a little bit differently. So,
ooh, I need to catch up.
Yeah, watch Star Trek Discovery, available on CBS All Access, season finale tonight.
Oh, it sounds like I'm on a binge then.
Yeah, and it's already been renewed for season 3 as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyways, utter garbage from Facebook, but there are those of us who do need it for pages that we manage and whatnot. So. All right, moving on into a bit more interesting news. Microsoft announced that its all-digital Xbox One S will ship on May the 8th for a price of $250, which is $50 less than the existing Xbox One S that Microsoft currently sells as its main console. So the way the landscape now looks like this is you have the Xbox One S digital at $249. You have the Xbox One S standard at $300, and I think the Xbox One X is $400. Someone might correct me on that, but that's the one that plays games in 4K. So if you want 4K, you're going to get the Elite version of it. But the idea behind this is that you'll be able to have any Xbox game that you own be digital, and it will ultimately only play digital games. And, I don't know about you guys, but most of the games I get these days are digital.
Yeah, so is it a physical Xbox?
Yes, it is.
I thought
it is a physical Xbox.
I thought we were talking like something like a Stadia type of a deal. Okay, so this is an actual physical Xbox. It just doesn't have an opening for games.
Correct.
You have to do everything.
Correct.
Well, why cut my options down? That doesn't make any sense.
The reason for this
cheaper, right?
is there's something called Microsoft Game Pass that you could previously get for $12 a month that would offer you a huge library of games that you could just say, hey, I want to play, say, Forza Horizon 3, and you would just download and you'd have access to it on a subscription basis. So what they did with this is they combined Xbox Game Pass with Xbox Live into one membership that you can now get for $15 a month. Previously, Xbox Live was $5 a month, and Xbox Game Pass was $12 a month, so $17, so $2 per month less, and you get everything all in one package. And, you know, the interesting thing about Game Pass is that the Xbox exclusives, you get those there on the day that you launch. These in the past have included Forza Horizon 4, Sea of Thieves, and Crackdown 3, to name others. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. So, but you're still you're still downloading the game.
You're
from
still
Game Pass,
downloading the actual game.
So, does this have an increased memory?
It's got a 1 terabyte hard drive. The hard drive on the other one, I believe, was 500 gigs, the old one.
So it's better, but you'd be surprised how quick you can fill up a terabyte with games.
But there's also this, is that you can hook up any standard USB 3 hard drive to the Xbox and use it to expand its storage. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's... So I guess there are some...
And just to give you an idea of some of the games that you can access with Game Pass and why this is an appeal to people, you can access big ones like Just Cause 4, Forza Horizon 4, Minecraft, Fallout 4, PUBG, Rocket League, Halo Master Chief Collection, just to name a few.
Wait a minute. Does it have Red Dead?
Halo 5 Guardians. Red Dead?
Red Dead Redemption 2?
Let me have a look here on the list. So...
It seems like it's way too new.
If it does, I would be willing to do it, because I'm beginning to doubt that it's coming to PC. And I have to have this game.
I know Reed
someday.
has been playing it a lot. I don't know if that's...
Oh, because it would be so fun, dude. Oh, I want to posse up. Let's go get them. Woo!
No, I'm not seeing Red Dead.
Oh, boo. Okay, well, it wasn't an Xbox exclusive, so that's probably why.
What's the full name of it?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Let's see. Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
That's a bummer. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you played the first one, Tanis?
Very little. I actually played it on PS Now, which was their streaming service.
Okay.
You know. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I wanted to try the multiplayer side of things, because that sounds like fun.
Yeah. RDR2 is great.
Oh, it's because it was a Rockstar game. That's why it wasn't on Game Pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping Rockstar will give it the Grand Theft Auto 5 treatment, where they just wait for the next console and then they put it out on PC, so they get double dip.
Right.
But I don't know. They've been real quiet.
Another benefit of this one is that it can play 4K videos that you stream to it, whereas the standard 1S cannot. If that's a thing, yeah. Granted, the 1X can only play 4K games, but this has 4K output and upscaling to it. So,
well, I wouldn't have I don't think I would be able to tell the difference. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, most people can't. So, you do get for free if you get this Xbox Minecraft, Forza Horizon 3, and Sea of Thieves.
I do want to play Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Like that. We could be pirates, Shane. Want to get on a pirate ship? Go squashbuckling on the ocean.
Yeah, and then if you combine this with EA's Game Pass or Game Vault, any other EA game that comes out, you can pretty much get access to most of the high-profile games that are going to be out there on the console. So,
okay.
It's going to be very interesting to see where this goes and what the uptake is on it. All right, so that's it for tech news. Moving on to our other things this week, we're just going to start with our achievements. We have Coded Ninja with 99 crafting on April 17th. Xenon Ray got 200 million strength XP on the 16th of April. Cavalerio got 120 dungeoneering as well on the 16th. And NoGuard 210 got 99 farming on the 16th. Congratulations.
Guilefleur got 99 Invention on April 15th. Prodigal Gaz got 99 Invention as well on the 15th. Blind Man 0122 got 99 Crafting on April 14th. And Ho Ninja got 99 Farming on April 14th.
Nicely done.
And we had Prodigal Gaz again with 99 Attack on April 14th. Blind Man 0122 with 99 Ring Crafting on April 13th. Jaguar 007 with 99 Divination on April 13th. And Blind Man 0122 with 99 Hunter on April 12th. Well, they're cruising towards their max. See them a lot in the section.
Pretty soon we won't have much to mention there beyond that. So
Right. Good job, guys. Great achievements this week.
Nicely done. So, I mentioned it at the start of the show, before the show began. So if you guys are still listening and you haven't done it yet, take a moment, hit pause, fill out that spring 2019 survey. You can find it at update.rsbnb.com/survey. We really want to hear from you guys, hear what you guys think of the show, where you think the show should go in the future. And if you have any feedback for us, you can fill that out at update.rsbnb.com/survey. We'd really appreciate it, so take a couple moments and fill it out. No personal information is required, and we look forward to seeing what our listeners are thinking of currently. So, all right, so I believe we have a pick of the week here. It's from David, but it's more a joint pick of the week.
It's David's.
Okay, what do we got?
All right, so there was a song that came out a few months ago called Old Town Road that was popular, and there's a remix that came out recently that I think boosted it in popularity even more. It's called Old Town Road by Lil Nas X and a country singer, Billy Ray Cyrus, and it's a great song. It's fun. It is peak Americana, kind of modern 21st century cowboy. Would you say that's it, Candace?
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way to describe it. Shane, if you don't know who Billy Ray is, that's Miley's dad.
I know it.
Okay.
At least he hasn't gone off the deep end like her.
Just don't tell us hard. It's achy breaky heart.
Right. And so, I think there are a lot of people who typically don't like country or listen to country who really like this song. I am one of those people. It's one of those songs that you can listen to one or two times and you know every word to. It's very catchy.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And the music video for the original is scenes from the game Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh,
was also
yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, they filmed parts of Red Dead Redemption 2 as the music video. And that's for the first music video, not the second one.
Yeah. And you're going to tell everyone why Billy Ray is involved now with
you go ahead.
Okay. So when this song came out, it was on both the Billboard pop and country charts, and the country Billboard said, this is not country. They took it off because of social media and Twitter backlash and all of this fun stuff. Billy Ray Cyrus finds out about it and offers to do the remix with Lil Nas X. They then do that, and I think is it back on the country Billboard now?
Yeah,
I think so.
Sure
yeah,
I'm sure it is.
Which is just great, where Billy Ray's like, "Oh, you're not country enough? Okay, here, hold my beer, let me sing the hook."
I would happily play a bit of this, but I don't want to get any part of the show muted and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
so,
you'll get demonetized real quick. But it is it's a fun song. Like the way David described it is spot on. And it's so funny because like I was telling my wife about it. I'm like, oh, you got to hear this song. And then it comes on her Pandora one day. She's like, what is this? I'm like, that's Old Town Road. She's like, this is horrible. I'm like, no, this is great.
It's great. Awesome. It's fantastic. That is
like, it's catchy.
That is an incorrect opinion.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, Old Town Road is the best.
Alrighty, well, link to the music video can be found in the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. So I think it's fair to ask, what have we been up to? I'll start with you, David, because it's been a while since you've been here. So how about it?
Well, so today I've been making overloads all day because I'm down to my last 70 salves. So I'm making another 2,000 Supreme Overload salves. So I will probably, I think I'll finish tonight. I hope so. And then I've mostly been going for IFB lately. And
Insane Final Boss for people who don't know what IFB is.
Yeah, doing a lot of that, which just kind of requires grinding old stuff over and over, which is perfectly fine because a lot of it is so AFKable. And we've had a customer who has been buying a ton of X-Logs, which is for hard mode Virago. So same stuff, except I'm also same PVM stuff, but just a little more focused now because I'm really trying to get IFB by the end of 2019.
All right, and of course, watch Informer for his article about PVM costs. And I've been waiting for this one. We've been doing a lot of extra research with it because everyone always thinks that PVM is just easy money making, but you're gonna shed a bit of light on that. So that'll be a good one to read. It'll be out at some point at informer.rsbnb.com later this month. Tanis, how about you?
So I have been basically doing Iron Man kind of skilling on the main account in preparation for not the next double XP, but the one after that. So next Game Blast, essentially, is what I am preparing for. So I'm basically doing my own herbs and gathering charms, all that kind of stuff. But Junior is the interesting account. He's what I've been having fun on this week. I picked up Rocky. So 2 weeks in a row now.
Two pets?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So $4.99.
Cool. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I have Brains and Rocky on Junior. Both of them were before $4.99, and I'm coming in at 85 mining. So working close, and 98 farming, Shane. So we will be having an announcement. No. Construction is untrimmed. I had to have my untrimmed construction first, but it will be my second. It's my second 99. So
Nice. All right. As for me, I finished, as I mentioned last week, my custom fitted trimmed masterwork. Since then, I've just been bouncing around back and forth between some div charges and the incense sticks. As I mentioned, the Lantademy sticks are still selling above market value. I don't know why. If maybe there's other PVMers that use them, but David, you said you don't. But there's still good money value. So that's the general thing with skilling money making. You got to look at specific cases of what's happening, and if you already have the logs, you just have to buy the ashes. And if you farm the herbs, you can bring in a good amount of money for that with your herb farming. So
they have to stay a certain price, because if they got too low, then all of a sudden everyone will.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But beyond that, not too much. Did the Easter event, and looking forward to seeing what we have coming for the rest of April. So I'll just wrap this show up by once again saying that if you want to join us in game, we're at Friends Chat Bits Bytes. You can find full show notes at update.rsbnb.com. And of course, thanks once again to our wonderful Patreon supporters as well. Patreon.com/RSBNB. And if you want to send us a question, you can email questions@rsbnb.com or leave those at Twitter @RSBNB, and we'll include those in next week's show. So with that being said, see you next week, everyone. Happy Easter.
See ya.